Okay, hi, welcome back. So we just went through our first example of solving by factoring. We get all the terms on one side, we factor the quadratic, and then we use the zero product property, which tells us that one of the factors must be zero. So we set each factor equal to zero and solve. And that gives us two solutions. So now we're just going to do two more examples of that. Okay, so number one, we know our first step is to get everything on one side. And we want to move to the side with the x squared. We want to keep x squared positive. So I have a positive x squared here. So I want to move the 10x to be over with that positive x squared. And I can do that by subtracting it or making it negative. So I can subtract 10x from both sides. On the left, then I'm going to have x squared. You want to put your x term in between the x squared and the constant. That will help us factor. So I'm going to put the 10x in the middle, and then plus 24. And then on the right side, I have 10x minus 10x, which is 0. And we knew we needed to have 0 on one side, so we got that. We're now ready to factor. Okay, so I want to factor this. I'm going to set up the factors. X and x still equal to 0. We now need to find two numbers that are going to multiply to 24 and add to negative 10. Let me write that down. Add, multiply. Okay, so let's start by listing our factor pairs of 24, and then we can find the pair that adds to negative 10. So we have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Okay, we need to make negative 10. We can do it with 4 and 6, and we can do it by making them both negative, right? A negative 4 and a negative 6 make negative 10. So in my factors, I need to have negative 4 and negative 6. All right, so we've done steps 1 and 2. We got everything on one side and we factored. So now the next step and our last step is to use the zero product property. We have two things being multiplied to equal 0, so that means one of them has to be 0. That's the only way this can happen. So there's two possibilities. Either x minus 4 is equal to 0, or x minus 6 is equal to 0. If x minus 4 is equal to 0, then x would have to be a positive 4. And if x minus 6 is equal to 0, then x would have to be a positive 6. Okay, so that gives us the two solutions to our equation. Awesome. Let's do one more example. So first step is to get everything on one side, and we want our x squared to be positive. So here we have the positive x squared. So let's move 23x over to be with that x squared. So we're going to subtract, 23x from both sides. Let's rewrite it. So I have x squared. Let's put the minus 23x in the middle. That's important for factoring. And then we have plus 42. Okay, and then 23x minus 23x is 0. So on the right side, we now have 0, which is good. So now we're ready to factor. So we can set up our factors, x and x equal to 0. We need to find two numbers that add to minus 23 and multiply to 42. So let's list the factor pairs of 42. 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14, no 4, no 5, 6 and 7. Okay, so which pair could make minus 23? We can do it with 2 and 21, and we can do it if they're both negative again, right? A negative 2 and a negative 21 would combine to a minus 23. So negative 2 and negative 21 go in our factors. And now we're ready to use our zero product property. So we have two things being multiplied to equal 0. That means one of them has to be 0. So either x minus 2 equals 0 or x minus 21 equals 0. If x minus 2 equals 0, then x would have to be a positive 2. And if x minus 21 equals 0, then x would have to be a positive 21. And we have our two solutions to our equation. Awesome. So that is solving by factoring.